It's time to down tools for a bit. Welcome to the ToolShed, the influential podcast for anyone and everyone involved in the building industry. Here's your host, Mick Hawes.
Hey folks, welcome to another episode of the ToolShed podcast. In this episode, I'm going to be speaking with a mate of mine, although you wouldn't know we were mates because I said before we pressed the record button, I don't think I've spoken to you for 7 years, but we had spoken just a little while ago. And I did completely left my mind. But Gideon is, in my book, a video guru. And I remember when I first became aware of Gideon, it was back before Builder's Business Black Belt. We had an organisation called Uncover Hidden Profits, and I was following Gideon and watching his videos and was just so blown away and impressed with the professionalism. And I continue to watch Gideon and have been continually impressed with just his philosophy and his ideas. And in this conversation, I hope that we're going to talk a little bit about marketing, the importance of it, the importance of video, the do's and don'ts with video. And I want to also talk about or get some more information on the latest escapade, which sounds to me like it's very, very exciting. Gideon, welcome to the ToolShed. It hasn't been 7 years. It's only been a couple of years, but there's been a fair bit of water under the bridge. How are you? Where are you?
Mick, thank you for having me on. I'm all the way calling from sunny coast or Sunshine Coast here in Australia, east coast of Australia, if you're outside of Australia. And I'm well. And it's been a while. It hasn't been quite 7 years, but a lot's happened since we talked last. And excited to share the latest and greatest with you today.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. I want to hear about it. I think where we need to start is at the start. Like, how did you get involved in video? And in my mind, in any case, I really saw you as right on the leading edge of video marketing many years ago. And in what I saw just really, really impressed me. The content, the professionalism, but also the quality of everything that you did video-wise. I just thought was the best I saw anywhere. And so, you know, I was really excited when I first reached out to you and we were able to have a chat on the previous podcast, and we've maintained a connection all that time. How did you get started? What caused your brain to snap and go, I know I need to be a video professional master?
Great question. Before I answer that, I just want to make a comment about you mentioning that I've always been on the leading edge. I almost say that I've been on the, maybe not even cutting edge, sometimes the bleeding edge of what's happening in the video marketing space. And while that can be perceived as a good thing, it's not always a positive thing. It's a sword with two edges, you know. So you've got I think it's a cool thing to be ahead of the game, but you've got to be aware also where the majority of the game is getting played. There's this saying where, if you want to find who the true pioneers are in an industry, you look at the guys with all the arrows in their backs, right? So
I was just thinking about, I knew that same saying. All the pioneers coming back full of arrows.
Yeah, that's it. And so it's not always the best to be first. And that's a big lesson that I've learned probably since I've even talked to you. Maybe I already had that lesson since I talked to you last time. But it's not always best being the first, although it is good being the first because you can see what's coming up. And you can, by being ahead of the wave and being ahead of the early and late majority, in a sense, you're actually operating kind of like in the future, because what you're doing when I call it front surfing. When you're front surfing, you're already experiencing what other people may only experience 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, sometimes 10 years in my case, down the track. And so the things that you might talk about, this is if you're a front surfer, it needs to be tempered, from that point of view. So some of the things that I might mention today might be it might be only something that might become of interest for the early to late majority in 2, 3, 4, maybe 10 years time. I don't know.
Yeah.
Hopefully not that long. I've been trying to scale myself back a bit in the sense to say, hey, careful not to go too far ahead, and make sure that, don't front surf too much, and make sure that there's, that I'm surfing close enough to the early majority and late majority as well, so that what I'm doing is actually beneficial a bit sooner.
Yeah.
But yeah, to answer your question, how did I get into this video thing? Well, I guess when I was 5 years old, I remember watching a news program, and watching the news anchor on that program. And for some reason, and I didn't know why back then. I think I know why now, but back then I looked at that and thought, wouldn't that be cool? Wouldn't it be cool to be on video and to be like a presenter like that? And I kind of forgot about that until many, many years later, until I was 28. When after I went through school and got conditioned to think in a certain way, and then went to university and got conditioned to think more so in a certain way, and then went to work in the industry for 5 years, and then realized, hey, hang on, this is not what I signed up for. This is not who I am. I don't want to be doing this for the rest of my life. And then, quit my job, and then immigrated to a whole new country, Australia, and started a whole new business. And that's really where it started for me as an entrepreneur. And then from there, I just naturally moved towards video, because one of the key things was YouTube was just getting started. I think maybe a year or so after I got started in 2006. I think YouTube started in 2000, well, around about there anyway. It was just very new. And I saw that as an opportunity to help get more exposure for what I was doing. And so I did a bunch of projects in the video industry. In fact, I did a project where we got massive exposure on video for our project. And it wasn't YouTube. We didn't use YouTube. It was something called the blip.tv back in the day. We got like 300,000 views on our videos for our video blogging course before we even launched our course. And so, I don't know what happened to blip.tv. I haven't checked them out for a while, but all our videos were on there. And then YouTube came around, and then, I had some success on YouTube as well. And yeah, I've just been doing project after project in the video space. It's just been such an exciting industry to be in. Ups and downs, of course, but I've seen many trends come and go. And and as a result of that, been front surfing and creating businesses in anticipation sometimes of what's coming up, but sometimes also being too early, and then essentially moving on to the next thing before that wave would come, and not realizing. Sometimes I would be so ahead and not realizing it, that I would get out of the market thinking that the wave has already been and done, and then the actual wave only comes quite a few years later. So, but yeah, it's been a very interesting ride for sure.
Hey, I hope you're enjoying the podcast. We're always trying to bring you information that's going to make your life as a builder much easier. So give us a thumbs up and make sure you hit the subscribe button so you don't miss the next episode. It's hilarious. I'm just thinking when you said, YouTube had only just started, and we were having a conversation in Black Belt the other day. And we were bringing back the whole concept of what was called belly to belly selling, old school selling, because there's all this stuff on the internet these days about, influencers and people telling you can set your business up so you can lie on a beach, and there's all these photos of just someone with their hands on a laptop and a drink sitting next to them and their feet in the sand. It doesn't work for the big majority of people. And so we were talking about getting back to basics and having conversations with people, like going out and seeing people face to face and getting on the phone instead of texting and emailing. And we went further and further and further back, me and the other guy who were sort of running the session, to the point where we remember being in a sales job before there were computers, like the desktop computers, and getting our first desktop computer, which was a 286 PC, wow. and people would look at you really strange when you're walking down the road and you had a mobile phone, and it was like the size of a house brick in a handbag.
Right.
but hilarious. But you have been involved in this space and have so much experience in this space. And even now, builders, many builders are starting to get into the video space. Some of them are creating some wicked content, really high quality content. I think they're the leaders in the pack, the big majority at the top of the bell curve, both sides of the bell curve are just starting to get into the video and they're obviously overwhelmed by it and find it difficult to stand in front of a camera and talk and things like that. What are some of the basic mistakes that you are still observing when say a builder or a small business is trying to use video for their marketing? What are some of the real common errors that we could unpack and give people some guidance as to what to do instead of that?
Great question. So I think there are two paths, and each path has its own mistakes / fears or things that could go wrong. If you are thinking about doing the video stuff yourself, so let's say that's path one, where you're going to be on camera and you're going to be the personality behind your brand, so to speak. Probably the first biggest mistake I think you can make is trying to make it too complicated. That's really what it comes down to. Trying to be too fancy and trying to get too hung up on the gear that you should use, etc., etc. And there's a lot of things you can learn and use for creating great looking video and great sounding videos. You probably know, what I've always admired about your shows, Mick, is that your audio is always so good. And it's one little thing that a lot of people don't realize is that your video, the quality of your video comes down to the audio more so than the video part of it. So the better your audio is, the better the experience of your video is going to be. But the bottom line is that don't get too bogged down with the technology. There's honestly, you can go an infinite level, maybe not quite infinite, but you can go many, many levels up in terms of how fancy and complicated you want it to make. And if you jump too high, you're going to basically create a big barrier and you're going to give up. That's what it's going to come down to. It's already quite the challenge to get in front of the camera, even if it's just your iPhone or mobile phone, and just overcoming that fear of being seen, and being seen in public, through video. That's already a big challenge in and of itself. And you don't want to complicate it with having gear get in the way. I suggest that you start with something simple. Maybe it's just your phone, your mobile phone, and just getting started, getting a few runs on the board, uploading that video to YouTube, even if you just upload it to private or unlisted so no one else can see it, just so that you can see it yourself and get that feedback loop going. You can have 10 videos like that, 20 videos, 100 if you want to, just to get that feedback loop going, because it's one of the most key and most important things. Is it sounds weird, but it's to watch yourself back, to get used to seeing yourself and hearing yourself on video. And so keeping it really simple, taking action with whatever you've got available at the moment, and then just getting some runs on the board, even though they might be invisible to everyone else. And then when you're ready, you can open it up. And then, once you think you've got a big enough or good enough skill built, you can stop publishing private and make it public. Start publishing publicly and get it out to the world. Because once you can get it right, there's a huge opportunity for influence and exposure for you and for your business if you're driving it yourself as a brand. Now, that's one angle. Now, do you want me to talk about the other side as well, if you're getting someone else to do it for you, or is this more of your audience where they are wanting to learn it for themselves?
Oh, I think we definitely talk about the how you can get somebody else to do it and outsource it and make it easier and better. But I just wanted to jump on a couple of things that you brought up. And one was the gear. And before we press the record button, I mentioned that we're moving out of this office. So for the last week, I've been packing, and my Lord, how much you accumulate. And I've just got bins and bins of different camera gear and sliders and lights and microphones. And it is incredible. And I just remember the technical setup when we first spoke on the podcast ages ago. The whole technical setup to create a mix minus setup so it didn't echo and all of this sort of stuff was just incredible. Now it's just so simple, and getting good audio, as you mentioned, is really simple as well. You don't have to spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars on mics and effects. There are just things that you can connect to your phone that just sound fantastic. But what I would like your comment on before we move on to other services is that you mentioned, if you're not feeling it, put it up private so people can't find it. And I always find that really a strange thing, because I would say to somebody who is doing that is like, if you're that worried about somebody seeing it, like that many people are going to see it, can you tell me your secret about how you get your videos seen? Because that's another question I want you to unpack is it's all well and good to create the video, but until and unless enough of the right people see it, it's sort of what's the point? So we'll get to that other service bit in a minute, but what have you got to say about that? What ideas can you give us about when you're creating your content? What are the things we need to be thinking about so it's not a waste of our time? It is actually being seen by the right people.
Yeah, so I think just to address that issue of being seen, and it's all good and well to say, yes, I want to have a ton of exposure for my business and get 1 million views or whatever else. With a lot of us, and including myself, big time, and I go through stages as well, depending on how much video I've done, at a certain point. There's always this fear of it's a fear of rejection, essentially. So, and the fear is based on what would other people say when they see or hear what I'm doing, and that is a worthwhile thing to address for yourself and to get clarity on. Some people are affected less by it than others. I think it's a case of we all feel it, but even though you feel it, you go ahead and do it anyway. It's like that, that's what courage basically is, right? You feel the fear, but you do it anyway. So because there's a benefit at the other side of it. But I think one of the biggest fears of humanity or people is speaking in public, right? So I saw a silly survey once many years ago that it rated dying by fire as a higher fear than speaking publicly, or something stupid like that.
I think
so whether it's true or not,
speaking in public was higher than burning to death.
Oh yeah, sorry, that's something like I had it the other way around. Sorry, but basically maybe it's just a joke, but I think it's kind of it points out a valid fear that we have of being seen in public and having that fear of rejection ultimately, and it's in some cultures it's worse than others, like especially New Zealand and Australia. There's very much a tall poppy syndrome, and as soon as you sort of stick your head out, you get chopped off at the knees, that sort of thing. So there's certainly a fear built into our culture, more so than say in America, where it's kind of natural to stand out. You want to stand out over there, and if you don't, there's something wrong there. Here it's kind of the other way around. So it's worth sort of acknowledging that fear and then dealing with it properly. One way that you can deal with it is to do what I've just suggested there too. If you do have that fear, it's just to upload as a private video, but get it onto like YouTube. Start with YouTube, get it onto YouTube as a private video or an unlisted video, but then watch yourself back over and over. And the reason you do that is not because you're a narcissist or wanting to become a narcissist. No, the contrary to that is the reason for doing that is to get your subconscious mind to accept what you really look like and what you really sound like. Because the way you see yourself every day and the way that you hear yourself every day is different to the way that you actually look and the way that you actually sound. So if you think about when you see yourself most often, it's when you wake up in the morning, get up, brush your teeth, you look at yourself. You're not looking at yourself, you're looking at a mirror image of yourself if you're looking into a mirror, right?
Hmm.
So which is flipped in the, what do you call it, vertical dimension, right? So it's flipped. So and none of us have symmetric faces unless you're a supermodel. I think it's a bit more symmetric, but even for
Like
them,
us,
it's
you
not
mean?
100% symmetric. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it, with that flipped image, basically your subconscious mind is used to seeing a flipped image
Hmm.
of what you really look like. And so when you see yourself on the recorded video, it's the more true image. It's then flipped the other way around again to reflect more what you actually look like.
Yeah.
So your subconscious mind immediately rejects that because it goes, "Hey, I don't look like that. I'm not used to seeing that, and it's not me. I look ugly. My ear is a bit off, or my nostril is a bit weird on that side. Whatever, you know." so, so then it takes time to recondition your brain to go, "Oh, actually, no, that's what I look like." And the same thing goes for sound. When you speak, the sound goes through at least two mediums. One is through air to get to your eardrum, but the other one is straight through your head, through your blood and bone or whatever to get to your eardrum and whatever vibration is happening there. So inside your own head, you sound different to yourself than you sound to other people. And so when you listen to yourself again by watching yourself on a recorded video, then again, you recondition your brain to go, "Oh, actually, no, I do sound like that." And that's often why people hate photos of themselves or listening to themselves on recording because they just can't stand it. And it's because to them it doesn't sound like them or it doesn't look like them, and that totally makes sense when you realize what's happening. So it's really a process of reconditioning your subconscious brain so you can go, "Oh, actually, that's what I really look like and sound like." And then from there, you can build that further confidence to go out there and go, "Okay, this is what I really sound like and look like. It's all good. You take it or leave it." So it really helps. And then there's other things you could do to make yourself look and sound better as well, right? So for example, just having a good camera. Like I think we're both using proper DSLR cameras. I'm not sure what you're using. I've got a Canon 90D here, for example, and that makes a big difference to what I can do with the settings and the aperture. And I've got a nice blurry background. It even with the particular lens that I'm using, it's optimal for shaping my face into a shape that is more representative of what I actually look like compared to, say, the lens on your phone, which might make I think it bends your ears back a little bit, depending on how close
Makes it
you
look
are
like
to
you're
it.
going really fast.
Yeah, or if you've ever used a macro lens really up close to your face, like my children do with me, and you've got a really big nose, it looks terrible. So that's the lens. You don't really look like that. So if you've got a good lens, for example, that can make a big difference. Same thing with audio. You can get a good microphone. I've got the
Sure, SM7.
SM7B. Yeah, and it's a fantastic microphone. It's the best one I've ever had, and it's what all the bigger podcasters use. Well, actually, what have you got?
I've got the Electro Voice RE20.
Okay, that's probably like super duper level up. We can't compete with that. But this particular mic is I love this mic. It just it's a very subtle difference to other mics, but it just creates a really nice sound. But the point is that there are some things you can do as well, other than training your subconscious brain subconscious mind to sound and look better as well, which can also help with that confidence and putting a message out there. So all of that stuff sort of helps. But ultimately, the biggest thing that'll help you is to actually, once you're ready, to push it out there and to just start getting that real-time feedback from real people, even if it's just your family or close friends, to just get it out there and start getting used to the idea of other people seeing and hearing you on video. So once you've overcome that hurdle, then you start looking at what's the next pain point. And the next pain point is really to then start getting as many of the right kind of views and engagement for your videos that you have on YouTube and other places. And I can certainly talk more about that as well, but maybe you had another question in between.
Well, yeah, I wanted to sort of move across to the getting some help. But, I want to use the phrase done for you, but my concern with done for you is I speak to a lot of builders all the time. Very few of them do the marketing activity that they need to do. And the quality of your marketing is going to determine the quality of your business. If you're pulling in the wrong leads or poor quality leads, it can really place a big impost on your business. So The quality of the marketing is really important, and they're busy. They don't know enough about it. There's all sorts of reasons why they don't want to do it. And when somebody offers, a done-for-you service, they jump at it. My concern with the done-for-you service, and I want your thoughts on that, is the builder sort of goes, "Can you do it? You take care of it," and they pay the money and all of that sort of stuff. And my concern is that the messaging and positioning is never as good as when the owner of the business is involved in the foundational, creating the story, finding out what specifically their niche is and what the person's that they're trying to attract fears, frustrations, wants and aspirations are, and have that messaging and positioning out there, because there's a lot of services out there that will create incredible videos and they use the drone of the projects and all that sort of stuff and wonderful music, and it just looks spectacular, but it has no message. What are your thoughts about choosing the right people, the right service, the right platform to have your videos done for you?
Yeah, so I think that question is a function of at which level you're at in your business. So if you're a big global multinational sort of business, as the CEO of the business, maybe you don't actually want to be on video. It might not be a smart move for you. It might not be very leverageable. You might be better off hiring 10 people to run your video marketing strategy for your company, right? So there's that sort of level. Then there's like the really solopreneur kind of level, where it does make sense for you to be the face of the business, and then there's anything in between. And I think it's worth just sort of realizing that there's a scale, and so in any of them. So I think you need to select the appropriate strategy depending on the size of your business or the stage that your business is in. So tell me, Mick, what for your audience, what sort of stage is most people in your business in? Are they sort of solopreneurs, or is it someone who's they've got the business and they've got a few people working for them, or are they higher level than that?
I think both of the first ones, but predominantly they are quite often a husband and wife run business, and they might have 3, 5, 6, 7 people on their team. Maybe there's some that are a few less, some that are a few more, but in the middle, that's where they seem to be. And I don't believe that they have a huge marketing budget. So, they need some guidance, but they need to get involved. I'm Mick Hawes from Builders Business Black Belt. There's one roadblock in your business that, when identified and fixed, a whole bunch of other frustrating problems will disappear at the same time. So much time, effort, and money is thrown at problems in an attempt to fix them that often doesn't fix the problem and just leads to more frustration. And if this cycle continues, it increases stress and just makes running your own business an unenjoyable pain in the ass. And it doesn't have to be that way. Being a business owner can give you more time and financial freedom, and it can be super rewarding if you do it right. The key is to find your unique roadblock, which you're often too close to the action to see yourself. How do I know this? I've been working in peak performance and business coaching for over 3 decades, and with builders specifically for over 10 years, and I see it every day. So I encourage you to take the Builder's Success Scorecard right now. The link to take the scorecard is in the description. It's free. It'll take you about 90 seconds, and you'll have some quality feedback in your inbox before you know it.
Okay, so let's talk towards that stage in business and that business development. So let's say you're the owner, and maybe it's your wife or partner is with you in the business, wife or husband, right? So and you might have a team of, say, anywhere from 1 to say up to 10 people, say. Just to sort of create that that visual for where you might be at. So yes, you can, like you said, get someone else to come in from the outside and do it. But I agree with you. It's probably not a good idea, because while they might have a really good skill and creating beautiful looking video, etc., A, it's going to be quite expensive and you might not have the budget to do it properly anyway. And B, to really get someone on board who understands your messaging and your market and your audience and the sort of service that you're providing, it might take them quite a while to get up to speed. And, again, funding is going to be a key issue. I think in that case, you're much better off trying to build that strength within your business. So either you do it yourself, you become the person behind the camera, or in front of the camera, sorry, the person on video, and you, as much as you can, try and outsource everything else. So I mean, you can be the cameraman too, or camera person too, right? If you're holding,
if you got a long arm,
or you've got a long arm, or a tripod, whatever, you can totally do it yourself. Obviously, if you have some help, maybe there's an intern or someone else in your business that's specializing, or that you want to be specialized in the social media side of your business, maybe they can hold the camera and do the editing and publishing for you.
Yeah.
So building that expertise within your business can definitely be, I think, a worthwhile thing, because then you build that expertise within your business. It's kept within your business. That knowledge that you already have about your target audience and needs and wants and desires, etc., are already contained within that shell. You don't have to go and train someone else or get an outsider to try and figure that stuff out. You're already starting with that benefit. But I think what you can certainly do is look for ways to leverage, even though you might be on camera. Like I said, you can find someone else in your team to maybe do everything else. Maybe they can record, maybe they can edit, maybe they can publish on social media, maybe they can interact with comments, etc., etc. You bounce all that off to someone else, or you can also look for complementary tools or software as a service, for example, to take care of a lot of those sort of functions. So, for example, the video editing. It doesn't have to be done by someone in-house. It doesn't have to be done by someone who understands your marketing or your messaging or your target audience, etc. It can be someone who's just good with video editing to edit your videos into, just to make it look a bit nicer, or just to do the basics, just cut it up and get rid of all the mistakes or whatever, and put it together into something that's kind of cohesive. It doesn't have to be super duper fancy. You can also just go for something that's like totally raw and unedited, and just build your relationship like that and make it really, really authentic. That's actually one of the best ways of doing it too, especially when you're getting started. But certainly, I think the key idea here is to look for leverage points. And one leverage point is to get someone else to help you with editing. And that can be literally anybody. It can be someone within your business. It can be someone outside of your business. Everything's digital now. I mean, one of my businesses, Splashio, is where people send us their video files and we edit them into short form video clips that they can publish on TikTok Reels and Shorts, right? So we don't actually talk to any clients as such. I mean, we do have a customer support, but we don't have to talk to anybody to do the work. They just send us the files, upload the files literally, and then the work gets done. We send it back, boom, it's done. So there's many services out there like that. We're just one of many. And then there's software that can do that for you as well, if you can be bothered driving that software. But it's the same kind of thing. It's the idea of outsourcing the things that you don't absolutely have to do in your business, and that's not your core strength in your business. So any of those sort of things you can outsource. I think commenting on social media is probably something you still want to do within your business, because you don't want some random person from India or
making stuff up,
another part of the world, just typing stuff and not understanding who you are as a business, and creating a bad experience. And the same goes for AI. If we want to talk about that, there's been quite a backlash I've noticed recently. I saw one of the big influencers in the market talk about that, where someone responded with an AI comment, and it was glaringly obvious. It was well written, but it was glaringly obvious that it wasn't written by a human being, and that left a really bad taste in the mouth of that influencer. And it's so much so that they created this big post and made an example out of it, and with getting lots of exposure. So I don't know if AI is really quite there yet to handle your commenting and interaction with people, because that engagement is so important, and you don't want to mess around with that. Trust is one of those things it's so hard to build and it's so easy to lose. And it's one of the three trifectas for creating conversion, creating a transaction. You need the person to do the transaction with, you need the offer, that they're going to buy, and you need trust. You remove any of those three things, you don't have a transaction. It's as simple as that. And so you don't want to mess around with the trust part of it, and that is, that engagement, getting back to people when they leave a comment on your video or when they send you a message, just replying like quickly. And I don't think you can outsource that. So the editing you can certainly outsource. There's the publishing side that you can outsource as well. Sometimes the editors can do that for you. But again, I like the idea of having that in-house, but then using tools to help you give you more leverage so you don't have to do everything manually. So there's a lot of things you can do to do that. But I think the advice is certainly there as a summary. If you're a smaller business where you've got maybe between 1 and 10 people in the business, do it all in-house. Maybe you're the face of the business, but you get someone else to help you, and then always look for those leverage points so that you don't get bogged down with, again, the technicalities of getting the video edited and uploaded and published and everywhere, but then still be involved with that feedback loop of commenting and getting back to people.
Yeah. Now, speaking about software platforms, before I press the go button, I said, what are you up to now? And you started to tell me, and I said, hang on a minute, wait until I've pressed the go button, because I want to learn about this while we're doing the recording to find out what you're up to, because every time that I have discovered what you're up to at any various time in the past, I've always been really impressed. We're going to put the link to Splashio in the description, because if there's somebody listening to here and they're creating content and they want it all chopped up really, really professionally, looks good, so you can use it for reels and shorts and all that sort of stuff, Splashio is a brilliant platform to do that. So we'll put the link to that in there. You did even tell me the name of the new software that you're developing, but I don't recall what it is. So tell me what it is, how it works. Why did you feel the need to go down this track to build it?
Sure. So it's called Vubli, Vubli.ai. So it does use some artificial intelligence in it, but that's an important part that I want to talk about in a second.
Yep.
But basically, Vubli takes away the pain of publishing your video content to multiple places on the internet. So places like YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, X soon as well. And then also complements, it creates all the additional content that you need to help you publish that content. So you basically upload your video to one place, to Vubli, and then it creates all your titles, your tags, your descriptions for all the different platforms. You just quickly review it, hit a button, and then it publishes it for you everywhere. And so I created this for myself, basically, but also for our clients that we had in Splashio. So you notice that people were struggling with that, and I was struggling with myself. It's always so painful to, you've got the video. It's already been such a pain. You've overcome your fear. You've overcome that editing what do you call it, obstacles, and finally you're ready to publish it, and then you upload it to YouTube and go, oh, now I've got to write a title for it. Okay, let me write a title quickly, and I need a description. Okay, let me quickly write that, and I need some tags so I can rank in the search engine, blah blah blah. All these things.
I still don't know how to write tags. I've got no idea.
I know, right? It's a challenge, right? So, and that's just one platform. You go, everybody's saying I should maybe publish on other places too. There's TikTok, there's Instagram, there's Facebook Reels, all these things coming out of my ears. And then you got to start from scratch again. Upload again, and then write the title and description tags. So it's another pain point that we wanted to solve, other than the video editing side. So the idea is that we just streamline that process completely to allow you to get your message out to a much wider audience, so you can get more views, more engagement, and it just takes care of all that menial work that you normally would have to do manually. So that's Vubli. Now, I just want to comment on the AI part of it, because I think that's very relevant right now. Probably a lot of people might be thinking about AI and thinking, hey, it's cool, but hang on, isn't it kind of weird how AI might be overtaking everything? And, what about the trust thing? What if, is it a good idea to use AI for your content creation? So one thing that we've built into the philosophy of Vubli is the idea that AI is more of a complementary thing than a creative thing. So instead of using AI to create, we use it to complement. So at least at this stage of the game, I think it makes sense to use AI from that perspective to leverage what you can create. So that's why we don't have a creating function within Vubli. We don't create the videos for you. Like there's a lot of services you can just say, hey, create me a video about how to get more, or create me a video about what's a good topic for a builder,
It could
for
be
the
cash flow. It could be building team. It could be no time.
right. So anything along those topics. So you can ask AI to give it the topic and give it some bullet points and say, okay, now go and create this video for me. And yes, you can totally do that. You can even train it on your visual image to create an avatar, like a clone of you, and then say, and copy your voice as well, and just give it the script, or say even write the script for me and then go and create the whole thing for me, and then whatever else. And you can totally do that. But at this stage of the game, I don't know, something about it feels off, and I'm not sure for how long it'll feel off, but certainly at this stage of the game, I think the general consensus from the circles I'm moving in is that it still feels off. It's not quite there. So in the meantime, I think a better way to look at AI is that it's complementary. It complements, and it can really streamline and leverage what you can do with your creative function. So if you're on the video, look at AI as something that can take care of everything else, but you're still on video, and it's still you. It's still your personality. It's still, it's not some sort of clone of you. I think that's something really important. It's something that we really value within Vubli as well, to make sure that that human element is still the main thing, and everything else is a complement. But yeah, that's Vubli, and it's taken a lot longer for me to create it, than I thought. But it's been around now for a month or two since we released it, and yeah, really enjoying it. It's good fun.
Yeah. So it took longer to create it than it did to explain it, which a lot of the time is the opposite for me. It takes longer to explain stuff than it does to do it. But quick question regarding, because this sounds really, really exciting to me. Like I want to know more about Vubli. I'm not an expert in this space, but I am aware that you need to create somewhat tailored content depending on the platform that it's going on. For even, for the perspective, it's a short, it needs to be portrait. If it's a YouTube video, it needs to be landscape, things like that. There are some that you can put links in videos, some you can't, and all that. So how does Vubli handle the creation of all of the different pieces of content for the different platforms if they require slight modification to go on the different platforms?
Okay, so it's really simple. You only ever really need two kinds of videos, and you don't have to do both. You can use one or the other or both. It's up to you. And the two are either landscape videos, like the one you're recording now with this podcast, or portrait. There used to be millions of other things you could do as well, like square and whatever else. You can still do that as well. But for me, I just like keeping it simple. Either landscape for more longer form videos, or portrait for short form. That's it. So keeping it really simple from that point of view. Then from there, it doesn't matter too much where you publish that content. Especially with Vubli, we have settings that takes care of all that sort of stuff. So for example, when you upload a short form video that's portrait, right, that you maybe recorded on your phone, you upload that one video, and then Vubli allows you to publish it on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook as a reel, Facebook Reels, not a Facebook post, and LinkedIn as well, and very soon X, formerly known as Twitter, right? So 5 or 6 platforms, that same video can go, and it works perfectly well. There's nothing special you have to do to make that happen. Like, as long as you keep the video general enough, in the sense that you don't say something like, hey, if you're watching this on YouTube, click my link in the description. Just kind of keep it a bit more general, so that it will work for more platforms. I think that's, you can, if you want to, be specific like that and create a separate call to action for each platform if you really, really wanted to. But you don't have to. You can keep it general enough to work for any of the platforms. So where Vubli then comes in is that, and I think this is where it does make a difference, and where it is important, is that while you've got the same video on all the platforms, the content that goes along with it it's not always the same, or I recommend for it not to be the same. So a lot of people, they might just grab their title, description, and tags from YouTube and then copy and paste it over to all the other platforms. And I think that's a mistake because each platform is slightly different. So what we do with Vubli is we say, okay, we acknowledge that there are differences, and then we create that content individually for each platform. So it's the same video,
perfect,
but it creates the title, descriptions, and tags separately for each platform. We write it all in your own voice, and that's one of the other cool things we do. We write it in such a way that it doesn't look like AI or sound like AI, because we base it off your content, and so it's trained on your content basically, and then writes it in your voice. And then the other thing we do is we create it, we tailor it uniquely for each platform. So, for example, on Instagram, it might be cool to use emojis because that's just what the platform is like. But on LinkedIn, if you're posting there as well, then we say, okay, don't use emojis. Just keep it more formal and use a more formal wording for the post, as opposed to something that's a bit more relaxed on TikTok or Instagram, for that matter. So each platform has its different flavor, and we account for that when when the content gets created for you, and that's where the AI comes in. That's where it comes in really handy. Yes, you can do it all yourself manually, totally, but we don't all have an incredible amount of time to spend our lives, optimizing for each platform.
Fair enough. So, this is all really, really super exciting. I want to take a look at it. How do we do that? Where do we go? Obviously, you'll give me the link and we'll put it in the description. But how do we go, and what do we see when we get there?
Well, I can share my screen if you like. That's one way, or I can just give you the link.
We'll just put the link in and people will follow there, but just give us paint a word picture of what we'd expect when we get there. What can we see? Can we take it for a test drive? How does it work?
Yeah, you can totally go there. We've got a 14-day free trial. So if you go to vubli.ai, so that's V for video, UBLI.ai, so vubli.ai. That'll take you to our homepage, and at the moment we've got a 14-day free trial there. That might change. We always want to have something free there. At the moment we're thinking about having something that's not time-based, that you can get access to, for as long as we're around. We're still working on figuring that out, but at the moment definitely there's a 14-day free trial which allows you to sign up and use the software as if you're a paying user. You get less credits or whatever, but you can upload your video. There's no watermarks or anything silly like that. And then you can publish it everywhere and just take it for a spin. So we designed that so that people can just, experience it and get that aha. Think, oh, hang on, I don't have to do all this stuff manually anymore. I can just streamline it with uploading it in one place, and everything else gets taken care of.
Perfect. One final question that I need to know the answer to, and that is, where did the name come from? It's a really catchy little name. You were sitting around the table and some 3-year-old said, call it Vubli, Dad?
No, it was actually really tough, because whenever I come up with new names, especially for software products like this, I want something that is trademarkable. And so that's not easy to do, because you've got to find a word that's not in general use. You've got to find a word that's not trademarked already. And you got to find a word that has meaning for you as the founder as well, and possibly for your users as well. So the word Vubli actually comes from the word publish. So I was actually going to, one of the names was Ubli, UBLI. It's part of publish, but or Ubli, Ubli, whatever. And that turned out to be like a city somewhere in Europe, and so I figured, okay, that not so good. And why don't I add a V in front, for video? So then V and Ubli from publish, so video publishing, it's kind of put those together, and then boom. So then Vubli was born. Yeah.
And that's the eureka moment. Mate, it's been absolutely fascinating catching up again. It's so good. I know it wasn't 7 years last time, but let's not make it 7 years again, or even 2 years. Just love to stay in touch with what you're doing. And you're still at that bleeding edge, as you might call it, of the video promotion, marketing space, and it's just fascinating to watch your progress and see what you come up with next time. So thank you very much for being on the podcast.
Thank you so much, Mick. Really enjoyed it, and looking forward to chatting to you next.
Yeah, terrific. So there you go, folks. That's it for this episode. We will have the links to both Vubli and Splashio. Great, both, well, particularly Splashio is something that I am aware of in detail. It's a great service, so go and check it out, and also check out Vubli while you're there, because as Gideon said, who's got the time to sit around creating tags and this, that, and the other when you're running a building business? So looking for platforms that can do this sort of quality stuff and important stuff for your business is absolutely essential. So go check out the links and take that stuff for a test drive. Give us some feedback once you've taken it for a test drive. Tell us what you thought. Always love to know that sort of stuff. We'll be back with another episode of the ToolShed podcast. Before you know it, I'm Mick Hawes from Builder's Business Black Belt. That is all. I am out. Bye for now.
You've been listening to the ToolShed. If this podcast struck a chord with you, make sure you spread the word by sharing it with your mates in the building industry. We love your help to make the building industry better for everyone involved.